Hi, everyone. Thank you all for coming out tonight. My name's Christina, and I'm the events coordinator here at Books Are Magic. Before we get started, I wanted to point out some logistics for how tonight's going to go. We'll be doing a hand-raised audience Q&A towards the end of the event, so start thinking of questions to ask now. After the talk tonight, Clay will be signing and personalizing books at the desk near where you checked in. We also have additional books available to purchase from my colleague at the register. If you're joining us virtually on the live stream, we'd love to encourage you to buy a copy of What Kind of Mother online using the link in the live stream description. It's a pleasure to introduce you all tonight to What Kind of Mother, and honestly, I can't describe it much better than my colleague Teo did. So instead of reading the jacket summary, I'm just going to read you this tweet. They said, "It was incredible. It belongs in the Southern Gothic Hall of Fame. I wish this existed. It was absolutely disgusting, positive, deeply emotional, hence the tears, atmospheric as hell, sticky and crunchy and so poetic and crafted with so much care. I loved it. I mean, what more could you need to know about a book?" Now for the formal part. Clay McLeod Chapman writes novels, comic books, and children's books, as well as for film and TV. He's the author of the horror novels The Remaking, Whisper Down the Lane, and Ghost Eaters. He also co-wrote Quiet Part Loud, a horror podcast produced by Jordan Peele's Monkey Paw for Spotify. Clay will be joined in conversation tonight by Nat Cassidy. Nat Cassidy writes horror for the page, stage, and screen. His novel, Mary, An Awakening of Terror, was named one of the best horror novels of the year in 2022. Also an established actor on stage and television who has played a villain or two in his time, his next horror novel, Nestlings, is due out from Nightfire in October 2023 and has been named one of the most anticipated horror novels of the year. Without further ado, let's all give a very warm welcome to Clay and Nat.
Nat.
Clay.
We're here. We made it.
We're here. We did it. Look at all these people.
Books are magic.
Books are magic.
Books are magic. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. Please silence your cell phones, put them on vibrate, and I'm going to do a selfie with all of you guys because we're here. We did it. Yay! I'm going to do this one.
Yeah.
Woo!
There it is.
You got to get in. Woo! There we go. That's the perfect one. Thank you so much for making it out tonight. I'm going to do a reading from What Kind of Mother. And yeah, I figured. It is rated PG 27. How about that? And it is, I don't know. We're on a time schedule, so I don't want to dilly-dally too much, but I really want to say thank you so much for making it out tonight. This is the official kind of New York book launch for this. It came out on the 12th. I've been kind of traveling up and down, and I'll be traveling until November, but this is home, and there are a lot of friends and family here, and that really means a lot to me, so thank you so much. We're in Brooklyn, and thank you to Books Are Magic for hosting us. Thank you to my amazing wife for making the crab cakes. That was
so good.
Are there any
so
left?
Delicious.
Is there any left? Okay, so if anyone wants some more crab cake, please have at it. This is What Kind of Mother. And all you need to know about What Kind of Mother is that it's a Southern Gothic folk horror. It is the main protagonist is this single mother by the name of Maddie. And Maddie is raising her teen daughter all by herself, but her teen daughter now wants to live with her biological father, and that is really hard for Maddie. She's come home to her kind of East Coast, small town, Virginia, coastal Chesapeake Bay home, and She's making ends meet, reading palms, like, kind of telling people's fortunes. She's not really a psychic, but this is how she makes her living. And she meets her old high school flame, Henry. And Henry, it's like old lovers meet cute.
Is this a Nicholas Sparks book?
Kinda. And they meet and they have a little spark, and strange things start to happen. But tonight, for the sake of this reading, we're gonna like eke a little bit in, but we can't go too far because things really go off the rails later. But I'm gonna read chapter 7, where it's Maddie and her daughter Kendra are having a little bit of a girls' night. This is girls' night. Here we go. We've made our way to the mouth of the Piankatank. There's a boat ramp at Roan's Point where the salt water blends into fresh. The Chesapeake is near enough that you can see where the river opens into the bay. Now, most folks around here own a boat, not as a sign of luxury, mind you, but a necessity just to get around. It's late enough in the day that the water skiers and casual fishermen have all packed up and left. But now it feels like the river's all ours. What do you think? I ask. It's beautiful, Kendra says. Now, I've scrounged up a modest picnic to have on the dock, just some Ritz and cheddar. Donnie always offers to pay for our dinner, but I just won't hear it. I don't want to be in his debt any more than I absolutely have to. Besides, it's girls' night, right? Damn it, it's our night. Nobody is taking this away. It used to be that I would come out here all the time when I was your age, I say to Kendra. There wasn't much to do back then, just sit around, get drunk. Still not much else to do, right? My age, Kendra says with a laugh. Easy now. But I give her a grin. It's a perfect date spot, though, don't you think? Huh? Anyone you want to bring here? Yeah, right, she says. Nobody? Really? I mean, there are plenty of fish in the sea. And I gesture towards the water, sweeping my hand across the vista of the river. All you got to do is dive in. Something small wails from farther upriver. It's these thin reeds, the tiniest of vibrations inside a throat. It echoes over the water in a repetitive, high-pitched pattern, and then it fades. There it is again. It's thin but persistent. It's such a lonely vibrato, distorting up and down, up and down. I strain to hear the sound. It's like a baby's wail, cutting through the evening's humidity. No, it's just a grackle, cackling, that's all. The sound of an egret's call almost sounds like a child echoing across the empty waterway. I glance down at my reflection across its surface. It's so still, smooth as glass. The water is calling for me. I can hear it even now. Can Kendra hear it too? God, it is so loud. Hey, let's go for a dip, huh? Seriously? Kendra says, I don't have my bathing suit. So, I stand up, feeling the dock wobble. It's just us here. I don't know. I slip off each shoe and leave them on the dock, and then I slip out of my pants. We are going in, you and me, okay? I am not taking no for an answer. Why? Because I sense a presence. Because I feel something I can't explain. Because I know there is something out there. I can feel it. Calling for me, needing me right now. Because it is girls' night and us girls just want to have fun! And my voice carries over the river. A startled egret launches into the air. I want to be that bird. I want to fly. And I take a few steps back, then I start running. Hey, ladies! And I leap off the dock. I almost do a cannonball. Water crackles all around me as my body ruptures its glassy stillness. This rusted flavor overtakes my mouth. There's a bit of grit to it, salty and muddy. And I pop through the surface. The water comes up to a little bit over my waist. Soft mud seeps through my toes. Hop in! I splash water at Kendra, who's still standing on the dock. She has perfected this full body eye roll, but she's kicking off her shoes and slipping out of her clothes. I cannot believe you are talking me into this. That's the spirit. Kendra runs and dive bombs into the water, squealing all the way through the air. She pops back up and with a gasp from below, laughing as she brushes her hair out of her face. God, she looks so happy. So truly happy. Maybe the first time in years that I've seen her this way. I splash her, and she splashes back. It's warm, isn't it? It feels good, she says. Yeah, I told you so. And I kick off from the muddy bottom and I float along the surface. The sky is only bleeding out more and more, but all I want to do is just drift on forever. Kendra finally calls it. That's enough for me, she says, paddling back to the dock. Oh, but we just got in. It's getting dark, she says, and I'm pruning up. Come on. I swim farther out where the river only grows deeper, just a little longer. No, I should probably head home. Home. The word stings. Where are you going? She asks when she realizes I'm drifting in the wrong direction. I am going to swim across, I call out. What? Are you crazy? Oh, it's not that far, I say. I'm telling you, it is the strangest sensation. I feel myself get picked up by the current. Something under the surface tugs me along, not the water. And I feel the pull in my chest, this invisible presence from within, not outside. And I am not resisting it. I just surrender myself, letting the tide guide me, tied to the moon, its gravitational pull, creating a force that draws the water closer to it. And here I am, following right along as if I am being drawn by the same celestial flow. Mom? Kendra has climbed out, and now she's standing on the dock's edge. What if a boat comes by? Better keep an eye out for me. God, there is so little sun left at this point. The river has slipped into blackness. What was ashen before is now ink. If a motorboat does come plowing through here, well, that's going to be the last you'll ever see of me. But I can't turn back now. Not yet. I take a deep breath, hold the air in my chest, and I plunge below the surface. All I can see is the vague shapes of leaves and clusters of kelp, the shadowy outlines of freshwater seaweed. The pressure of the water pushes against my ears. I am in a salt water womb. The rush of blood swarming all around me. I wonder what kind of child might gestate in a watery prenatal chamber like this. What kind of mother it would take. What kind of mother? I'm waiting for something to happen, but there is nothing to see. The air begins to prickle in my lungs. What am I doing out here again? I mean, even I'm beginning to see how silly this all is. I better head back to Kendra before she really starts to... Something scrapes across the nape of my neck. It's very gentle. It's a soft thread passing over my shoulder. Slick, slippery hair. It could be kelp, I think. Just some seaweed. But then something fleshy brushes against my cheek. Cold skin. And I yank my head back just as the blurred form of a baby floats by. Only its head. Thank you! Thank you, New York!
Clay McLeod Chapman! Has anyone ever told you that you have a name that's really like great to shout, like it's a wrestling match? Clay McLeod Chapman!
Not Cassidy!
I love this book so much. Is anyone in the audience, has anyone read this? A few people have? Okay, good. So you will understand the unique challenge that faces us of talking about this book. Suffice to say, it's so good. I love this book so much.
I see why we picked you for the conversation partner.
Because I'm going to butter you up like you were a soft shell crab. Like you were a peeler, baby. No, it is. Just to peek behind the curtain a little bit, I have known of you and close to have known you since like 2006.
When we were little babies.
When we were little babies making little spooky plays.
Little theater babies.
Off Broadway. Now here we are, the Montague Street location of Books Are Magic, celebrating your most recent triumph. I have read. What book is this of yours?
Technically 11.
11!
But in this quirk cycle of my career, it's the fourth book with quirk.
I have read all 4 of your quirk books. Yes, give applause. Yes.
It wasn't like, yeah, clap for quirk. We were some quirk authors.
Quirk is awesome.
Quirk we love.
And you are awesome. It's a match made in awesome heaven.
They are awesome.
They are fantastic. Yeah.
Yes.
Good night, everybody. I've read all of your quirk books. I've read a few of your non-quirk books.
We don't talk about those books.
Hey, they're all great. But I maintain that I think this is your best book yet. And I mean that as high praise because all your other books have been phenomenal. And this book, there is just something about it that is so, as has already been said, it's so sticky and quirky and quicky and squicky but also so devastating and so beautifully wrought. And I think that sample that you just read from is actually a great proof point as to why, specifically because one of the many things I love about this book, and I think is so exceptional about this book, is its evocation of place and its setting. It is rooted in a place that is so palpable. I even when I was in the process of reading this book months ago, I think might have been weeks ago. I don't know what is time. A period of time ago, I even felt compelled to post about how this is, I think, the best evocation of a specific biome. In this case, the American South. This is very much Chesapeake Bay, very much Virginia, and the way you evoke it. Even in that sample that we just read, but throughout the water, the humidity, the bugs in the air, the sense, it is such a sensorial book. And I really think it's right up there with the works of like Michael McDowell and John Ferris and like the big Southern Gothic horror writers. This easily stands shoulder to shoulder with them and is sweating because it's drenched in humidity. So my first question then is, A, did you go into this story wanting to do that, or did that just come as you were drafting it? And B, why?
Well, I'm from Virginia, born and raised, born in Roanoke, raised in Richmond, but 60 to 90 minutes away is the Piankatank River, and
which I didn't know that's how it was pronounced this whole time.
Yeah. It's out there. It's a real river, and I have family that live on it, and I grew up next to it. And there's the duck blind, like there are kind of locations within the book that are like quite literally places that I would look out my window and I would see it along the waterfront, and the duck blind, the farmers market, all of these places, and it was always a place that I wanted to write about, but I didn't know what the story to tell about it. And what's amazing, oh my God, like in this area, no lie, like S.A. Cosby lives right down the street. What? Yeah, he's like all. And if you read all of his books, you're saying to yourself like, oh, well, that's where that happened. And oh my gosh, T. Marie. Yeah, no. Theme music. Theme music. The novel theme music. T. Marie.
Oh man, I'm blanking. Pressure's on.
She lives on an island, like everybody. They're all these amazing, like all these authors just live in the area, and they're writing about the place in this way that it's like really like unnerving. And I don't know, like it's funny because reading Razorblade Tears was a real influence of the kind of the back and forth dialogue for Henry and Maddie, because I just wanted to like, I don't know, like there was something so much about the kind of relationship of those two characters. And I think that's an amazing book. So I'm just like copying it. But I mean, like that's just where I grew up. And like, you mentioned McDowell, and like I think of like the Blackwater, not trilogy, like the Septology. Yeah. And it's just and even like more recently, like Andy Davidson with, I mean, if you haven't read The Hollow Kind, if you're looking for like a real like turgid Southern Gothic, like The Hollow Kind is amazing, and even like The Boatman's Daughter is amazing, and like I feel as if like the kind of Southern Gothic horror is like almost having it's almost having a little moment, and like I just want to be a part of that.
Well, I think you nailed it and then some, because not only is it such a palpable read and such a tangible read, the way that you have transported us. I mean, I grew up in the desert. I grew up in dry heat with not a single natural body of water in sight, and I felt like I lived in Virginia while reading this book. But what it does in an interesting way thematically too is that you wrestle with a lot of questions of what's natural in this book. Even the title, like what kind of, like that's the sort of thing that people say in judgment about, like, oh, what kind of mother would do that? Like it's an unnatural thing to do.
It's an awful title if you're looking on Twitter for like, what are people saying about my book?
Yeah.
And then it's like,
what kind of mother?
Like you're like, oh, no one's talking about my book, but they're really mad at.
What kind of mother would buy this book for their child? But no, you, and again, like I'm just tiptoeing up to certain things we can't talk about. But there is this back and forth throughout the text of what is natural, what is not natural, and even the unnatural things are so rooted in nature, whether they're familial nature or there's someone's personal nature or something like that. So it works beautifully. I highly recommend anyone who follows Clay on social media, which you all should do. But he even posted a bunch of videos of him going to certain locales in this book, and they are exactly the way I pictured them, which I think it speaks to your skill.
Well, I mean, like, just driving home to see fam, you go down Interstate 301, and there is the psychic, the palm reader who's living out of or operating out of some like refurbished like it maybe was a hotel at one point, like but it's like I don't know, like that is these are places that you just pass, and like that strip mall existence, like when you're like like you're in between cities, and all of a sudden you just hit that highway, and it's just like cluster upon cluster of just like shopping centers, and none of these shopping centers are like even like they're not even open, like they're almost like skeletons at this point. And like I don't know, I wanted to write about that. But what I loved about what I love about Virginia and that kind of corner of Virginia is that like the people who live there live off of the land, and some of that is farming, but a lot of it is just fishing, like crabbing, and like I mean, my granddad he was a crabber, not a commercial crabber, professional crabber, but he would like wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and before work he would literally like he would just like pack the hip waders and like go like crab, and that would be what they would eat after work that day. So like, and it's just, I think that with the South, there's always something kind of elemental about one's life, that like there's a certain kind of existence that kind of like adheres itself to nature in some way. And I don't know, like that's what I love about Flannery O'Connor, Faulkner, like, you know, like you get a kind of like impression of the region through the characters, but also just through their existence. And like, you know, like nature versus nurture. Like I think it's nature. I definitely think it's a little bit of nature.
Yeah.
And you know, the it's no spoiler to say like there's a missing persons case at the core of this book. And you know, what these two people who are kind of at the center of that missing persons case, and how, like, you know, you have I don't know, like it's just, yeah, it's a weird one to talk about. But like, you know, if you're wanting to help someone who is missing their son, and you say you're a palm reader and can see into people's future, like maybe you can
Lend a hand.
wah, wah.
We'll
be here all night, people.
I'm just going to let that die a painful death. I almost got mad, but I'm not going to get mad. No, you hit on something, too, that I think also is very key to understanding this book and talking about this book, and that's your personal connection, specifically your personal connection to it. So we're gonna get personal. We're both the product of single mothers, and I think this book grapples with single motherhood in such a, again, I'm gonna just repeat myself, but such an evocative, such a visceral way. And from what I know about your mom, like just from conversations and other interviews that I've listened to with you, correct me if I'm wrong, but she was a potter. She used to go to like craft fairs and stuff like that. Maddie, the lead character of this book, is a palmist who goes from like farmer's market to farmer's market and is also a single mother. Was this kind of an homage to single motherhood and to your mom in particular in a very twisted sort of way?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she is absolutely the kind of, her influence over my childhood is in this book. Like my mom, she's a potter, and like her whole kind of origin story, like, you know, I never met my dad. It was just us for a long time. And like, as a potter, she is earning her keep raising a son all by herself, like off of this craft, off of this thing that she does with her hands. And like, she would always say that, like, you know, I would put you in a papoose on my back while I was at the potter's wheel, and, you know, the hum of the wheel would lull you to sleep. And I want to believe that's true. I don't know that my mom has a way of painting the rosiest of portraits, but yeah, I mean, like, she, like, it is impossible. Like, she is so much a part of this book. I don't think she's read it yet. We have this weird give and take of, like, you know, she gets the stuff, she puts it on the shelf, and like maybe a year or two later she'll be like, oh, I read that book, and I'll be like, oh, and you know, like, and I think that, like, yeah, that's, I mean, you know, God love her, I love her, but I'm always like, what is she going to think about this one? And because I think that it paints, I mean, like, it basically, like, a theme of it is like, parenting is tough and it's hard, and if you're alone and you're doing it by yourself and you're trying to make ends meet, you know, it sucks. It's really hard. And then your teenage kid wants to, like, go with the other guy, and you're just like, F you. Like, it's just like, you know, like, oh man, like, I did all of this and now you bail on me? Like, you know. So I never did that, but like, I just think, like, you know, she is definitely like a shining influence on this. And then things get weird, and I don't know. There's definitely a point where, like, imagination takes over.
Can we get her a Twitter account so she can post her reactions?
Nope.
When she gets
not
to
allowed on
the latter half of this book.
Nope.
Okay, fine. We'll get her on Instagram. Well, you know, speaking of dads too, the fatherhood is also a major theme of this book. There's also a single father, and yeah, you nailed it. You really do come away reading this book thinking that parenthood is a bum deal. It's
my kids are in the front row.
It's fiction. It's fiction.
Yeah.
He's writing about things that are not true. Yeah, and I mean, this dad is very much not you. But I would posit to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the sections that the father, I'm blanking on his name, Matt? Henry. Yeah. Completely wrong name. I knew it was uber masculine. Henry, the portions that are from Henry's point of view are, I mean, we're already buttering you up, so why don't we continue down this path? We've already compared you to Michael McDowell and John Ferris. I would say that these sections from Henry's point of view are up there with like Pet Sematary, and if you are easily upset, if you are easily saddened, you are going to at once love and despise two parts of this book that are some of the most emotionally devastating writing I have read in years. And I don't even think that I'm blowing smoke up your nethers, because like that feels objectively true to me, as objectively true as an art assessment can be. And you do that by really putting on full display in full dramaturgical power. After all that training you had off Broadway, the dramaturgy you bring to a parent's worst nightmare is stunning and brutal. So I have to imagine that was fun to write? Not fun to write? Probably not fun to write.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, a few things. Like 3 books ago, I realized like if I'm going to do this, I have to put some skin in the game. And I was like, what scares me? Like if I'm writing scary books, I got to scare myself first. And that will hopefully bleed into the text. And I was like, oh, I am now a dad ×2, and nothing scares me more than parenthood. Like the idea of like every day my kids leave and enter into that world, and I have no control over what happens. I don't have control when I'm with them, but I have zero. Like it's just amazing how like I'm casting my kids in these like private horror movies every day after they leave, and it's just like that's what I'm writing about. And with the Henry section, with like this is a nested doll, and I have to put Megan on. Shine you out here. The narrator of the audiobook is here tonight. And I want to say hello to Megan, who is she if you know, we're here. Thank you for buying the book. If you're looking for an ancillary kind of other experience, the audiobook is out there and available now. So but it's narrated from 2 points of view, and it's Maddie and it's Henry, and Henry's this like nested doll narrative that happens inside the book. So it's like you've had all of this kind of world building and character building, and then you get to Henry, and Henry's just like talking to his son, you know, as you do. And what, you know, in my mind, and this is kind of like a mental hiccup that I have, where it's like dads leave, dads don't do the heavy lifting. Dads are just kind of like, oh, you know, you need help with that? And like mom is like, I got it. And, you know, like it's, but like dads like have this like, and, you know, I'm painting a grand, like this is overgeneralization, but like it's like daddom it's a tough thing for me to wrap my head around. And now that I am a dad, I'm wrapping it around my head in ways that I'm just like, you know, like where's the instruction manual? Like what do I, you know? And of course, like I don't read the books. Like, you know, my wife is like, read the book. And I'm like, I don't, like, you know, it's like, you know, like I'm still stubborn enough to not like, so like, yes, Henry is not me, but there's like a spirit of fatherhood that's like he's the like Maddie to me is like the nuts and bolts. Like I am grinding. I'm like trying to get through this, and this book is scary. So like scary things are happening. And meanwhile, Henry's like, hey, you know, like
I play the guitar.
Yeah, I mean, and like, but that's the thing. Like he's like literally like, are you a Neutral Milk Hotel fan?
Sure.
Okay, like, do you know? Like they're just like they're these bootlegs that you can find online. Like you could, they're not on any albums, but they're like these bootlegs. And I'm a big Neutral Milk Hotel fan.
2 white guys in Brooklyn talking about Neutral Milk Hotel.
I know. It's so. I mean, this book is just like an acoustic guitar. It's like this is like my Nebraska. This is like I feel like this is like, you know, like, hey, you want to come to my dorm room? I got my guitar. Like it's that kind of book. But it's like with like there's this one song. And I'm totally blanking on the name of it, but there's like this one bootleg of a Neutral Milk Hotel song that never ended up on an album because it's not as good as some of their other songs. But there's this live recording of him doing it at this this coffee shop or somewhere in North Carolina, and it's like it is 7 minutes of just him like. And it's just him with an acoustic guitar, and he's like, and it's just like he's just playing it, and it's like the guitar is out of tune, he's out of tune, like the whole thing is just a mess. Yeah. And like the whole like the last refrain is like he's like screaming at the guy. He's like, "You are a liar, you are a liar," and he's just like doing it over and over and over, and it just goes on and on and on for a long time, and like it's not a pleasurable experience listening to that song. But I was like, I want to write that. I want to do that in 300 pages. And like that's like that's the Henry section. It's just like him, like it's chaos, and it's like a song that has structure, but it like collapse. It's like breaking and it's chaotic, and then it's over. And it's just like you're like feeling like it's like the emotion is just so raw and so pure, but it's just like you literally are, it's like you are listening to catharsis happening, and like the structure of it is just like, it's just like a roller coaster with no rails, and you're just like, what is like, it's inspiring, and I wanted to write that feeling, and I don't know if I did, but that was the hope.
I think you did. I think this book is definitely like you go to someone's dorm room and they start playing Wonderwall, and then suddenly they're playing Joy Division, and you're just like, oh God. I'm curious too, since everything is written in like first person perspective. Do you like perform these while you're writing them in private? And like, were those sections particularly hard to say out loud, even in the privacy of your writing room?
I will admit that when I am alone at home, I am reading out loud. But I have to wait. You know, it's kind of like, you know, it's like, you know, no one's here. And, you know, and so like there is a certain cadence. I didn't do that as much with the Maddie sections. It was just the Henry sections. Because like there's something so kind of conversational about the Henry sections where it's just like, hey, you know, I'm talking, you know, it's just us. We're only here. I have my guitar. And like, I'm going to tell you a story. Where Maddie, her section, her whole, like, she is the scaffolding of the thing, and like she has to carry that friggin' book on her shoulders, you know, hook or by crook.
All right, so we're going to open it up to audience questions in a couple of minutes. So while we do that, there's one other element of this book that we cannot not talk about. While you all think of your questions to lob at Clay, there's a lot of crustaceans in this book. There's a lot of, again, like it's the flora and fauna of Virginia. So I want to ask you some lightning round crustacean questions. Don't overthink these. Don't give me a long filibuster answer. We got people who are busting with questions to ask you.
All right.
All right. If you had to wake up Gregor Samsa style as any crustacean, what would it be?
Lobster.
All right. Crustaceans are a subphylum of which animal phylum?
Crustacea.
Anthropoda. Would you rather have everything you always eat for the rest of your life taste like crab, or would you have to live one day a year as a shrimp?
Shrimp.
Okay. You're putting a lot of trust in the people around you. What is the primary substance crab shells are made of?
Calcium.
Chitin. Would you rather fight one horseshoe crab the size of a horse or 100 horses the size of a crab?
100 horses the size of crab.
Good call. Which crustacean has the most powerful punch in the entire animal kingdom?
I don't know.
It's the mantis shrimp, 50 miles an hour. What color are lobster blood?
Blue.
You got it. Okay. Your book contract is still valid. All right. Does anyone have any questions for our author, Clay McLeod Chapman? I have other questions I can lob at him if I need to, but I'm sure you're burning with questions. Yes, over there.
One of the things you said earlier was talked about the character of the place.
Mhm.
And I find that with all of your writing, like you really have you make where it all happens come alive, right? So was in this, because it's your childhood, was it easier to write the descriptions of these places versus your other books, or was it just as difficult to try to bring it to life?
Do you want to reiterate the question for the live stream? Because you had your childhood in this setting, was that easier to write the locale, or was it more challenging?
That's really an interesting question, and it's funny because previously, beyond the last two books, it was always like, I'm going to make up a fictitious town and just say it's Virginia. Where starting with Ghost Eaters, which was the previous book that is like firmly rooted in Richmond and in Hopewell, Virginia, and then with this one, it takes place. It's called Brandywine, but it is like very specifically, the Gloucester County, Matthews County, and yeah, I think it's like there is this feeling of like I know these places in a way that it's not. Close my eyes and picture it, like it's a lot easier to kind of manifest because they are places that I still visit and still go to and have been going to since I was a little kid. So yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like the region and the location has just bled into me enough that it's my narrative default. Like I'm just gonna like write about Virginia for I'm like emotionally stunted. I'm realizing I'm like 20 years behind my body where like I'm not going to write about Brooklyn probably for another 5, 10, 15 years because I don't know what this is emotionally yet. I know what Virginia is like because I did this part of my life there, but now I have to figure out what this part of my life is there. So, yeah.
Any other questions for Clay? Yes, back there.
I don't know your body of work, but I'm curious if you've written previous novels in the voice of a female protagonist.
The question is, have you written previous novels in the voice of a female protagonist?
Yes. And it is interesting how I tend to majoritively write. I don't want to make a grand sweeping statement, but the bulk of them tend to be from a woman's perspective.
Why do you think that is? Fascinating. Cool.
I think it is because of my mother. I am a bit of a mama's boy, and I don't know. Like, guys weren't around as much, like strong women, grandmas, aunts. Like there was like this kind of like focal point of some of my closest friends are women. So I don't. It's just that's. I feel as if I've connected more on an emotional level with women in my life, in my upbringing and in my life. So, yeah.
Yeah. Question over there? Yes.
This is your second book in a row that I know of that features a really upsetting encounter with a baby. Why you're so scared of them.
They're scary. Babies are scary. No, children are. Yes. I mean, yes. No. Well, No, I mean, like. I feel as if there is that version of like, oh, I need to protect, there's the nurturing, oh, this is, but like that's a trap, like that's a, like, I think like there's a version of that where like, I don't know, like it's deceptive, like what if, like what are there's so much folklore where it's like, oh, look at the little like, and there's like, yeah, changelings, like, like there's just like so much like, don't trust it, like just because it's cute and adorable, don't.
We're learning so much about you.
Speaking of which, segue for just a second. Holy moly. October 31st is the release date of.
Look at him deflect.
There is a particular. Well, speaking of creepy kids, there is a book that is coming out on Halloween Day called Nestlings, and
I've heard of it.
Yeah. It's written by Nat, and it is amazing. It is amazing.
I can't encourage this.
You write. See, you're writing about New York. You have a very lived, emotional New York experience. Where like I read it, and I was like, I want to go on the tour of that book. Like I want to like it was definitely like, oh my god, like I know that like is that so like I want to ask you, like you wrote this massive tome about the Upper West. Upper West.
82nd Street.
Yeah, the anti Dakota, the neo Dakota, I remember reading the first page and I was like, Rosemary's Baby, I see you, Nat, and then I was like, no, I don't see you, Nat. Like, where are you taking me, Nat? And like, it was really, I mean, it was amazing. But like, how did you write about New York? That's my question.
That's it. I mean, it was written during the pandemic, so I think I was metabolizing missing New York while living in New York at the time, because none of us were leaving our apartment. So I was like, oh, remember Manhattan? I think that was a big part of it. And it's funny, your answer about writing about women too definitely resonated with me. 'Cause also, as a single product of a single mom, I mostly only write about women too. Men are a mystery to me.
Which, total segue, you have to wait till Halloween to read Nestlings, but right back there is another novel.
He's deflecting again!
It's called Mary, and Mary is an amazing novel written by Nat Cassidy, which is for sale right here at Books Are Magic. And it's totally shameless, but we get to do an event together. Sorry, Books Are Magic. But we're going to do an event on October 26th.
You didn't get enough of this.
I know. Well, there's going to be 4 of us at the Strand. We're going to be at the Strand bookstore in Manhattan. For my first, I've never.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Me neither. I worked there for a day, and then I quit.
Really?
Yeah.
You worked at. When was that?
It was right after I left Shakespeare and Company, so it was like 2008.
Are you just doing like all the bookstores?
Yeah, kind of.
Wow.
Yeah, and then
Are you guys hiring?
I'll work for a day.
Rachel Harrison, who wrote Such Sharp Teeth, The Return, and most recently Black Sheep, which just came out last week. Aaron E. Adams, who wrote this amazing novel called Jackal, which is around here somewhere because I saw it. That is it's an amazing book, and she has a story in the upcoming Out There Screaming, which is the Monkey Paw horror anthology book, which is phenomenal. So yeah, it'll be us two and Rachel and Aaron.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun little roundtable about horror. October 26th. How are we doing on time? Do we have one more question? It's you.
If usually in your books the scary thing, well, in this book, if the scary thing is a baby, if you're gonna write a story by the perspective of the baby, would the villain or scary person in the story be another baby, or?
If I was to write a story from the perspective of a baby, is it a monster baby or just a regular baby?
Well, would it be a monster baby?
I mean, I think that's the question. I think that if it was written from the perspective of a baby, the parents would totally be the monsters, right? Right? They have to be. They need it's their turn. There are no stories about scary parents. Only stories about scary kids, right? Yeah. I think I know what the next book's gonna be.
The not evil baby.
I'm just misunderstood.
All right, well, I think is that time?
Oh, yes. Okay. So, thank you guys thank you, Nat.
Thank you.
Thank you, Books Are Magic. Thank you to Indrani for making tonight's cake. And thank all of you. Thank you for tuning in at home. And thank you all for braving Brooklyn to come out tonight. It is really awesome. It's really special, and I really appreciate it. So thank you. One of you. Oh, there's we're live streaming right now. We'll say afterwards. So one of you who bought a book, in your book, you have a tarot card. And if you have that tarot card, you are guaranteed a palm reading by me tonight. So look inside your book, and if you have that tarot card, someone has a tarot card in their book, it would be in the front dish. Oh, you guys have the tarot card! Whoa! Evil baby! You get a reading, and you get a reading, and you get a... No. See me afterwards, and we'll do a palm reading. So, thank you. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. We're going to be signing books over there. We'll be signing copies of Mary. What Kind of Mother? We'll sign anything. We'll sign anything. Find a book. Pick a book. We'll sign it.
Elon Musk's biography. We'll do whatever.
No, I'm not signing. Thank you.
Thank you again, everybody. Good night, Brooklyn.